Welcome back to Treasure Hunting with Jebus, guys, and today I got an insane story to tell you guys. Kind of sad, but at the same time, insane. So, the last storage unit we bought, the one that was in Richmond, Virginia, I think it was a $30 unit out there. It ended up having a crazy story behind it. So, this all started because if you remember watching that video, a car pulled up and parked behind the unit and just sat there. I think I even stopped and said, is that car watching? Like, he just parked there. So right there, we were both extremely suspicious, but we wanted to just keep, making the video and going through the unit. The creepy part was that that car just sat across from us. Never got out of the car, never said a word, just sat there for legitimately like half an hour. He even had his phone out. So at first I was like, okay, maybe he's just looking up the channel. We have giant Treasure Hunting with Jebus stickers on the car. Maybe he's just looking up the channel, but never said a word to us, never got out to go into a unit, never said anything to anybody, just sat in the car sitting there, which was extremely, extremely creepy. So that's when we started thinking, let's delve a little bit further into this unit. Now, still, after I finish the story, I have no idea if this guy had anything to do with this story or not. No idea. Maybe not. But this is what initially got us interested in looking into more detail at this unit because it was creepy as hell. So, once we left the storage facility, we started going through all the different paperwork that we found in the unit. There were letters, there were old pictures, things like that, all kinds of things with different names on it. And we happened to find the same last name over and over and over and over again, but the first names were different. So, we didn't really know which one of those people owned the unit. We just knew it was that family. Maybe it was a family that all put their stuff in there. Maybe it was just one of them, an older sibling. There's so many possibilities of who owned that unit, but we had the last name narrowed down to who owned it, so that's what we went off of. So we were looking at the different names, never really got anywhere, and then I remembered there was a CPU, or a whole 2-in-1 computer. It was a monitor and a CPU in one, and it was a Windows one in there, so I realized I can get into that. If it was Apple now, you're most likely gonna have to throw it in the trash. It's a pain. Actually, you know what? I'm lying. We got into the last one. It took a lot of effort, but it's possible. But it was a Windows one. I knew how to reset those and get into the computer. So I was like, we get into that computer, we can look up all kinds of information. There's saved files, things that are logged in, anything they have saved, emails, things like that, and you'll be a lot easier. It will be much easier to figure out who actually owned this unit. So it ended up being a little more complicated than I thought it would be because the sticker on the computer was Windows 7, but they had actually updated it to Windows 10. So that was two things. Unfortunately, it's a little bit more secure for us. It took us a little bit longer to get around it. When I used to know how to do this, it was for Windows 7. So Windows 10, we had to do a little bit of learning to get around it. But what that also told me is that computer was recent, very recent. Windows 10 is the newest operating system right now for Windows. So they had to be on there within the past 4 years or so. So a lot of computers you find in there will still be running like Windows 98 or Windows XP, and they've just been sitting in there for freaking a century or more. This one was running Windows 10, so right there I was like, they have been on this in the last few years, so this will give us the information we're looking for. So just like we thought, once we got into it, we were able to connect it with the Ethernet cord to the internet and look at everything on there. They had email addresses still logged in, they had files on the thing, they had a resume on there, they had all kinds of information. Everything had the same exact name on it. So at that point we knew who owned the unit, who owned the computer, most likely who owned the unit. I mean, that would make sense. It could be wrong, I guess, but most likely whoever owned that computer owned that unit, and we knew the guy. So then we wanted to look in further detail and see what else we could find about this. So after we found out the guy's name, we threw it in, punched it in Facebook, looked him up, and we found a profile. And I want to read you, or not read you, but show you this post that he had on his profile. Now, right now, it's not going to make much sense, but later on, after I tell you what else we found out, this is going to be extremely creepy. So let me just say that, read that, remember that, and let's keep going. Unfortunately, other than that one post and a few other pictures, we were unable to really find any information. And as you can see on that was posted in 2013, so it was really, really old. He didn't have anything up to date, relevant, or anything like that on the Facebook profile. So it was getting us nowhere. We weren't getting anywhere. I don't know about you guys, but when I buy these units, uncovering people's stories is one of the most interesting part of this. So that's why we do this, and that creepy guy at the beginning just really made me think like something's weird about this unit. Why is he there? If he was like a fan of the channel or he was looking up the channel, you would have said something about to us. But just to sit there for 30 minutes, stare into the unit, never say a word, and then leave after we leave, that was creepy as hell, and that was like something is up with this storage unit, so we're gonna figure it out. So since we weren't getting anywhere with Facebook, we tried looking on other social medias. We looked on Twitter, couldn't find anything with the name. Looked on Instagram, couldn't find anything with the name. And I was like, duh, this is so stupid. Just put it into Google and we'll see what we find there. Put the name into Google, hit enter, and that changed everything. Once we Googled the name, we found multiple news stories with the same name. So I was like, oh my God, this dude's an actual criminal. And then you look into it, he's not just a criminal. He had been charged with stabbing somebody, a 50-year-old lady. Stabbed her and killed her in an alleyway down there in Richmond. At that point, I was like, holy, you know what? We have a legitimate killer's storage unit right now. So with that being said, I was like, wow. So we went through different sites and found the same name telling the same story on multiple different news outlets. So at that point I was like, this is 100% legitimate. This is a real killer. So I was at the same time and maybe a little nervous because that guy just sitting over there, what the hell was he doing there? You know what I mean? Was that his buddy? Were they gonna target us? Something like that. I don't know. They never said anything to us, but like I said, the second we pulled off to leave after we got our deposit back, a minute later, boom, there they come. Before we could even turn at the light, they left behind us, which was extremely creepy again. Not only did we find out that he had killed somebody, but they had the literal security footage of the whole thing. I didn't really watch it through, and I'm sure somebody out there is gonna like freeze frame this and look this up. The name of this guy is going to be filtered on YouTube. If you try to put anything like that in the comments, it's not going to pop up. If you want to look it up yourself, go ahead. But do not, I repeat, do not link us with this. Anything to do with this guy, blurred out his street name, his neighborhood name, his name, the victim's name. Everything's name is going to be filtered. It's not going to be able to be put in the comments at all. Because I already know somebody's going to try to look it up. And I don't blame you. I'm nosy. I have to do the same thing. But just don't connect the two of us with them, please. My question that I want everybody to answer in the comments is, what would you do with this stuff? Now obviously if this was an unsolved murder or something, we wouldn't have been able to find the information. But I mean, since the guy's already been arrested, convicted and everything, it's not like we need to turn this over to the police for evidence. There's really nothing on the computer other than social media accounts. I mean, I went through everything on there. I couldn't find anything convicting, saying like I'm gonna kill this, kill that, whatever. Couldn't find anything like that. So I don't think there's anything on the computer. And along with all the other stuff in there, it's just I feel weird even having it now. Like this is not just a robber or something. I mean, that's still bad too, but somebody literally killed somebody and we have their stuff now. That's really, really weird. And what would you do? I mean, tell me, if this happened to you, what would you do? Would you feel right keeping this stuff? Part of me is like, that's what you get. I should take your stuff because you're a murderer. And part of me is like, watch this guy be linked to some sort of big street gang or something, and then they see this video or seen the other video and they're like, now we're gonna find those guys. There's just so much you have to think about in a situation like this. And what would you do? Just tell me what you would do in the comments down below. Another reason I wanted to put this story out there is because a lot of times you do run into terrible situations, like the last story I told on here about the lady whose sister had been murdered, and sometimes people lose their storage units for sad reasons that they really had no control over. But at the same time, you have people like this that most likely lost their storage unit because they were locked up in prison for murder. And by the way, if you look this up, this whole thing happened, I think it was January, right? January of this year, and we got it at the end of March. So I mean, it would have been about 2 or 3 months, which is, as far as I know, when they throw your stuff up for auction. If you don't pay, what is it? I think it's 3 months or something like that. They give you 3 chances to pay your bill. And if you don't pay it after 3 months, then your stuff goes up for auction. So if this all happened in January and we got it in March, so I mean, it all lines up and it just makes it that much weirder. What do you think we should do with all this? Before we end this story, I want to bring up just a couple more points. Number one, the guy that was in the car behind us with the phone out, he literally had his phone sideways like this beside the car for, I mean, how long would you say? At least 2 or 3 minutes. So I don't know what he was doing, taking pictures creepily of us standing there, taking pictures of our car, taking pictures of the unit. It's really, really weird, extremely weird. I have no idea what the guy was doing. What do you think? I mean, you got to let us know. If some creepy guy was doing that, what do you think he was doing? Let us know about that in the comments too. The second thing, the guy that was convicted of the murder and the guy's name that was on the computer was a big guy, a big dude. But pretty much everything we found in that storage unit was kids and women. So again, I just don't know how it connects. Obviously, we don't know his story. I don't know if he was married. I don't know if he had kids. I couldn't find anything about that out there, so I really don't know about all that, but it's just kind of strange and even more creepy for a big dude to have women's stuff. And remember, there was purses. One of the purses had glue in it. Like, it's really strange. Like, why would a grown man, I'm assuming he's single, I really don't know. Like I said, I don't know his story. Why would a grown man have a purse with glue in it? Very, very weird, and just something else to really think about when you think about this whole story. Well, that's going to be it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave it a big fat thumbs up. We did just pick up a storage unit in Maryland that we'll be going through tomorrow. Technically today, the day you're seeing this video. So the next day, we will have another storage unit video. Hopefully no creeps this time, but it's getting a little weird, but who knows. And if you want to follow us on our social media links, they'll be on screen. Just click the links down in the description below. Make sure you follow us on whatever you have. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.